Hi, welcome back to Sab. Big bonus for you. End of this video. Stay tuned. Today's topic French Revolution Part 1. We're gonna discuss about French society during the late 18th century, the struggle to survive, growing middle class envisage and an end to privileges. Let's get started. French Revolution. Today, we often take the idea of liberty, freedom, and equality for granted. But we need to remind ourselves that these ideas also have history. By looking at French Revolution, you will understand a small part of this history. The later part of 18th century saw one of the greatest revolution which played an important role in the making of the modern world. The Renaissance in Europe had brought about the intellectual freedom and also gave birth to the chain of revolution, especially in Europe, which destroyed the old age feudal order and prepared the ground for the development of industrial society. The term old regime is usually used to describe the society and inhibition of France before 1789. The French Revolution had been building up for many years. The peasants worked from dawn to dusk on the land owned by their local lords. Taxes were very high because of war that France had fought in 17th and 18th century and because of the extravagance of Louis XIV and Louis XV. In 1774, Louis XVI of Bourbon family of kings ascended the throne of France. He was 20 years old and married to the Austrian princess Maria Antoinette. Upon his accession, the new king found an empty treasury. Long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. Added to this was the cost of maintaining an extravagant court at the immense palace of Versailles. The war added more than a billion livres to a debt that had already been risen more than 2 billion livres. Lenders who gave the state credit now began to charge 10% interest on loans. So the French government obliged to spend an increasing percentage of its budget on interest payment alone. The maintaining an army, court, government, offices, universities, they forced to increase taxes, but that was not sufficient. The society was divided into three estates, only third estate paid the taxes. In these three estates, peasants made up to 90% of the population. 60% of the land was owned by noble, church, and other richer person of the third estate. The member of first two estate, that is clergy and nobility, enjoyed certain privileges by birth. The most important of these was exemption from paying taxes to the state. Noble further enjoyed feudal dues which they extracted from peasants. In this picture named Spider and Fly, artist portrayed nobleman as spider and who never satisfied and peasant as fly. The church, too, extracted its share of taxes called tithes and also a direct tax called tithe from the third estate. The total burden of financing activity was totally borne by only third estate. In this picture, the third estate carrying the first and second estate on its back. This symbolizes that current position of that time. Due to the bad harvest, rise in price, and poorest people can no longer buy bread, thus the disease, death, and food riot increased. In the past, peasants and workers had participated in revolts against the increasing taxes and food scarcity, but they lacked the means and programs to carry out full scale measures that would bring about a change in social and economic order. This was left to those groups within the third estate who had become prosperous and had access to the education and new ideas. In 18th century witnessed the emergence of social group termed the middle class, who earned their wealth through an expanding overseas trade and formed the manufacture of goods such as woolen and silk textile that were either exported or bought by richer person of the society. In addition to merchants and manufacturers, the third estate included professions such as lawyer or administrative officials. All of these were educated and believed that no group in society should be privileged by birth. Rather, a person's social position must depend on his merit. These ideas were put forward by philosophers such as John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. In his two treatises of government, Locke sought to refute the doctrine of the divine and absolute right of the monarch. Rousseau carried the idea forward, proposing a form of government based on social contract between people and their representatives. In the spirit of the laws, Montesquieu proposed a division of power within the government between the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. This model of government was put into force in the USA after the 13 colonies declared their independence from Britain. The American Constitution and its guarantee of individual right was an important example for the political thinkers in France. The idea of these philosophers were discussed intensively in salons and coffee houses and spread among the peoples through books and newspapers. These were frequently read aloud in group for the benefit of those who could not read and write. The news that Louis XVI planned to impose further taxes to be able to meet the expenses of the state generated anger and the protest against the system of privileges. Now, today's bonus for you. Today we're going to discuss about some questions related to French Revolution. First question. Describe the circumstances leading to outbreak the revolution protest. There were some causes which led to outbreak of revolutionary protest. For example, number 1, privileges based on birth. Number 2, the war with Britain for an independent America. Number 3, concentration of power among the privileged. Number 4, subsistence crisis. And number 5, growing middle class. Question number 2. Which group of French society benefited from revolution? Which group were forced to relinquish power? Which section of society would have been disappointed with the outcome of revolution? The answer is third estate of common people mainly benefited from the revolution. Third estate gained equal socio-economic rights and status. The clergy and nobility were forced to surrender the power. The moderates, who wanted a constitutional monarchy, were disappointed because ultimately Napoleon came into power. For more question and answers, you can mail us at sab04785@gmail.com. That's it for today, friends. If you love our videos, please do like, comment, subscribe our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Follow these links to connect with us. Meet again in next video. Bye.